Hey, yo, what's the deal? That's your boy Tag from Pro Wrestling Tag. You know what I mean? As of this recording right now, it is 4:49 p.m. You know what I mean? August 12th, 2025. And I fucked up. I fucked up badly. So apparently, this is the second time I'm doing this video because I had it programmed last night. I had it programmed yesterday. And then, like, for some reason, it didn't, it did not go through. Now, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but it seems like I'm going to have to change the way how I do my videos on YouTube, in terms of programming it and such. Now, I mean, I might do the video and then say the time, like, this time in, like, between such and such. And I'll just air it right there. Now, I mean, that shit ticked me the fuck off. I'm like, yo, why the fuck didn't this video go through? You know what I mean? But fuck it. Let's get it on real quick. So of course, as you guys know, yesterday, TKO announced a big deal with UFC and Paramount. To put their the UFC onto not only Paramount but also CBS and such. And it's for $7.71 billion, right? So TKO is basically racking up these big deals for both UFC and WWE, right? And who knows? Who knows if the next thing they're building up is the fucking, the Professional Bull Riders Association. You know what I mean? Who the fuck knows? You know what I mean? They own that. So, but what I want to talk about is one more big deal that they need to take care of. And this is definitely a big one. The video game deal. Now, of course, you guys know that both WWE and UFC are, with their video games, they are under two different companies, which, by the way, are both competitors, right? EA Sports and 2K, which I love both. Listen, like I love NBA 2K, but I also have a heart for NBA Live. I don't give a fuck what no one says. And there are some games that I miss, like, as much as I like Madden, I miss the NFL 2K franchise. I miss it deeply. To me, they got the best mechanics in any pro football game, period. Now, I mean, when it comes down to 2K Sports, they got the best mechanics, period. Out of any sports game that you see, period. Hands down. Hold on real quick. Yeah, sorry about that, y'all. So the video game situation is one that they need to take care of. And like I said, I love both. I love both 2K and EA Sports. You know what I mean? Like they both got their negatives, but it's a lot more positives than anything with both companies, right? Now, when do I think, and I might have made a video on this, but I think it makes sense for me to redo this video. When do I think which company is going to go? Well, the last EA Sports game to come out was in 2023 with UFC 5. That was the final, no, not the final. That was the most recent UFC game that was released, right? But the thing is, these games are not consistent. UFC games are not consistent, which is crazy for some weird reason. I don't know why. But 2K games are clearly consistent. You know what I mean? Like any game that 2K brings out is constant, especially for WWE. Now, I mean, WWE doesn't fuck around. You know what I mean? When it comes down to their games and such. Even though yes, the same kind of game, but it's still different. It's still different. Different editions and so on and so forth, right? And when do I think TKO is going to lean more towards? Well, from what I understand, right, they have a relationship with EA Sports. Like, they know EA Sports. But WWE basically, has a great relationship with 2K. That's hard to, that is very hard to, it's very hard to separate, right? And they sell more. They sell a lot more. So if I had to pick, I would think WWE. I mean, TKO is going to go with 2K. It makes sense. It makes sense business-wise and such, because again, it's easy to make games for both. And in mind you, they also want to cut costs. You know what I mean? They also want to cut costs and such. So, they're not going to pay for two companies when they could just have one company do two different games. And not EA, 2K could definitely pull this off. Clearly. You know what I mean? And plus the transitions will be easy. You know what I mean? There'll be a lot of easy crossover. You know what I mean? And like I said, I can definitely see that happening. Now, I don't know where this UFC's deal with EA Sports up, but from a business standpoint, it makes too much sense for TKO. See, you know what? This is something I didn't even mention yesterday, right? It makes a lot of sense for TKO to make their own distributing company, their own video game company, and have 2K make the games. You know what I mean? Like a distribution. Remember, Rockefeller Records, right? Jay-Z, Memphis Bleak, Beanie Siegel. You know what I mean? All three of them were with Def Jam, but they were signed under, they were Rockefeller artists. So their albums were distributed through Def Jam. Even though it was Rockefeller Records, their albums were labeled through Def Jam and such. So I could see TKO doing something like that. You know what I mean? Use it like a package deal. You know what I mean? And I bet you these UFC games will sell quickly. Oh, they'll clearly sell, without a shadow of a doubt. You know what I mean? And even if WWE goes to EA Sports, I think it's still good too. You know what I mean? But at first I was saying, you know what? WWE will probably go to EA Sports. But business-wise, like the amount of stuff that 2K does for WWE, I can't see that happening. Now I can clearly see 2K being the home for both WWE and UFC games. You know what I mean? They could just call it TKO games and have both under the same umbrella. It makes sense. It makes a lot of fucking sense. And who knows? Maybe 2K already has an engine. You know what I mean? That they test out. I mean, they can use the exact same engine that they use for WWE 2K. The exact same engine, and then and then just change the mechanics. You know what I mean? Like it makes too much sense. You know what I mean? It makes way too much sense. I think also, with the video game such, I definitely can't see WWE nor TKO, UFC go to THQ. I can't. Clearly I can't. Clearly. That's a backwards move. You know what I mean? Because AEW Fight Forever, that fucked up so bad to the point where it's like, why bother to create another wrestling game for them? Why? If you could just, if 2K is just right there. They're right there. You know what I mean? Like I said, I do think that this is TKO's next big move. You know what I mean? Because again, you already knocked out the TV deal, right? And yes, probably merchandising and such. That's secondary. You know what I mean? The endorsements and the merchandising and such. You know what I'm saying? But I think to me the video game situation also is a big one. It's a big one because again, they're not gonna pay for meaning TKO. They are not gonna pay for two different video game companies. I'm sorry. They're not gonna do that. Why would they? It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. You're shelling out of pocket, to make games, for two different companies that's rivals. It business wise, it doesn't make sense. Especially if they want UFC to get, their games to be in the same, sales bracket as WWE. But that's just me. Now, I mean, let me know what you guys think under the comment section. You know what I mean? And I'm going to holler at y'all. I'm making a video tonight. Peace.